to, now over the next handful of days, we're going to pull this, the remaining pieces of this year's learning of this concept together. We never end, of course, we never end our learning and delving into something. But I want to wrap a handful of things together. So, in terms of the core points, let's go back to some of the core points and build on them. Let's go back to them quickly. So we know we have kibbud, right? And kibbud is weightiness, to constantly being reevaluating, reassessing the weightiness, the heaviness in a positive sense of a certain person in my life, and kibbud, or a certain experience. You know, we say, as we said, kibbud Shabbat and so on. So the job of the human being, the job of the, is to be constantly assessing, right, the weightiness of a relationship, right? We can't trivialize any relationship. So when we talk about kibbud, the first thing we're talking about is a universal mindset, right? Every kibbud relates to everything and everybody, right? We know that. We honor and respect everything and everybody. But what the Torah is commanding us is, this is a top of mind mindset. In other words, it's not something I bump into from time to time. Kibbud is something that builds my life, right? Kibbud is something that frames everything.
And you're saying it applies to everybody?
Of course it applies to everybody.
Different levels, different intensities. Your father is not
right.
like your friend, your father
right.
is not like
Good.
your...
So let's talk about how it applies to people outside, right? Kibbud b'riyot, right? We've touched on it a little bit. Kibbud b'riyot means an underpinning of absolute respect for anything and everybody, right? And the cliched Western perspective on that is, kill a man but don't disrespect him. And when you kill him, respect him. When you kill him, respect him. In other words, when we go to war, we're supposed to respect the other side. You take a prisoner of war, you're not allowed to abuse them. There are certain rules and regulations that a person has to be held in captivity in. You're not allowed to abuse the body of the soldier who came to kill you. Why not? Why not? He came to kill me. It worked out that I killed him. Why can't I kick the body, spit on it, tie it to the back of the car, drive it through the streets? Why not? Because there's fundamental, immovable, unconditional human value called respect. Now, is it kept? It's kept all the time. But certainly that's the perspective. So, kibbud habiriyot is the headline, right? The absolute, unconditional respect for everyone, even the person you disagree with, to the point where you're holding a gun and he's holding a gun, and God forbid it can be one or the other. That doesn't change. That's why, just as a sidebar, it's so shocking. It's so remarkably, it's inconceivably shocking how the world has been so filled of hatred for us. So filled that the abuse of human beings in full daylight, on camera, burning people alive, was never condemned by the United Nations. It's not condemned.
Since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Nothing new.
So, it may not be something new, but it's something very disheartening and
I was thinking of the Beavis twins. Those two babies, the Beavis babies.
Yeah.
That was
It's
the image
just...
that came to mind.
So, kibbud, unequivocal. Even to your enemy, right? Morah, to be in awe. We said that the concept of awe is the gray matter, right? That's where all the questions sort of come up, right? And we want to frame it in our mind of a perpetual state of mind, right? And the rabbis parallel it to Hashem Elokecha Tira, Parashat Vet Chanan, right? We just read it a couple weeks ago. Et Hashem Elokecha Tira, be in awe of God. Same way you're in awe of God all the time. You're not in awe of God sometimes. You don't turn it on and turn it off, right? So the same way we're in awe of God all the time, Ish imo ba'aviv tirahu, all the time. It's the same exact word. Now, I see what you're saying in your eyes, Joe. I got it. I see it. And I'm going to say what you've heard me say before on this thing, and that is it's a massive failure of all of us, parents and children, that we have not kept this, that we have not kept it. And I'm going to add something to it. I'm going to call it haskala, although I'm going to say that's not exactly the right Hebrew word. I'm going to tell you, it's not exactly the right Hebrew word. Haskala means enlightenment, and when it's used in traditional Torah circles, it's a negative thing, because it means the enlightenment of people that took them away from Torah. But I'm going to use it in its pure sense, and I'm going to say it may not be the exactly right word, but I couldn't find a better word. But now listen to what we have. We have an interesting thing. Warning. We have an interesting thing. We have the fact. Come sit over here. Yeah. Come sit. Yeah. We have the fact that we, to our, as a result of our not being demanding enough, we have allowed our children not to be in awe of us. We've allowed our children not to be in awe of us. Am I guilty? 100% guilty. Do I pay the price every day? Every day. Is it wrong? Not for me. It's wrong for me. It's much worse for them that they're not in a state of awe. Now, what happens? What happens? And I was really struggling to understand how this fits into Mashiach and all the things that I believe, a number of people believe are happening now in a very overt sense. What happens is, we call it dor hafuch. When we come closer to the time of Mashiach, right, the children will know more Torah than their fathers. In traditional Jewish history, that was never the case. The father was the son's teacher. And only when the father couldn't teach would he farm him out to someplace else. Shiva day schools, very modern phenomenon, right? So the father was the son's teacher, meaning the father knew enough to teach the son. It only happens in the last 100 years or so, maybe 150 years, maybe more, but it's not 1,000 years, that dor hafuch, the situation turned on its head, where the children know more than the parents, right? Okay, that's a good thing in certain respects, right? Education's gotten better, Torah observance have gotten better, awareness has grown, right? But now you have a double shot. On the one hand, the child may know more than his Torah than his father. On the other hand, the pace of change in the general world, and I'm going to call this the haskala, the enlightenment in a positive sense, the pace of change in the general world is faster than ever. So, my son may know more Torah than me, and he knows how to do this computer thing better than me. Right? Now, what does that give him license to do?
Undermine his awe.
That's right. Absolutely undermine it. And in fact, he's going to struggle with it. Right? Because he's going to struggle, we hope, or pass on it. Right? He's going to struggle with it or pass on it. So the fact that we did a great job, right, in enabling our children to know more Torah than us, and the fact that humanity, it continues to grow and progress with, okay, there's always negative that comes with positive, but overwhelmingly positive in the respect of the accessibility of knowledge and tools and connectedness between human beings all over the world. It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. And of course, negative can come with it. The tumah always comes with tzara, but overall it's breathtakingly beautiful. So when you put those two together, and my son has a better handle on either or both of those than me, and he hasn't been indoctrinated with the perspective of awe, he is going to fail. He is going to fail.
But if those things are true, which they are, how can you avoid it?
I'll tell you how you can avoid it. Very good, excellent.
He's going to end up knowing more than you, and he's able to keep up with this fast pace. And the older we get, we can't keep up with that. So there's just...
So you would say, retirement age is 65, so to speak.
85.
At a certain point, that's my opinion, zero. When you show me the word retire in the Torah or in the language of the rabbis, when you show it to me, I'll have the conversation. But until now, I haven't found it. So what do we want to do here? So salahad kama b'kama, because these are the realities. The demand on us to instill a sense of fear and awe in our children is that much greater. The demand on us to instill it inherently, naturally in them, so they are afraid of us. Yes, I am afraid of my father. Yes, I am afraid of my mother. Yes, I am in awe of my parents. Yes. When my father asks for something, I don't say maybe in a minute, I say, how high? I don't wait till he finishes the sentence. Is this true today? Absolutely not. And who suffers most from it? Of course, the parents suffer. But who suffers most? Our children. Because they don't understand life. They don't understand life. They don't have the acuteness and sensitivity that they better have. And that's why when I tell people, have them kiss your hand, it's not for you. It is not for you. We all failed in this thing. And I raised my hand high. And who pays the price? Our children pay the price. Because they don't know how to be in awe of the person they must be in awe of. So it might end up being that their awe of God might be less as a result too. I don't know, maybe. But even if it isn't, they're missing out on life. Because when your father says something, and you'll get to it when you get to it, which is the generation that I'm seeing now, I'll get to it when I get to it. Son, could you take care of this thing? I'll get to it. What do you mean you'll get to it? What do you mean you'll get to it? What do you mean you're busy with something else? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Tell me, show me somewhere in Shulchan Aruch where it says you could tell your father I'm busy with something else. Tell me where it says it. We haven't seen it, now learning, right? So when we said this from the beginning, right? We said that the reason we're learning these halachot is to make our children better, to make our parenting better and make our children better. And therefore, I want to go back to certain points and I want to push them further in our minds. The yir'ah that the Torah commands us to instill in our children, the sense of awe and fear, it's the same exact term that's used for the sense of awe and fear in the context of God. Right? Et Hashem Elokecha Tirah, right? Bet Hanan, the Aseret HaDibrot, right? We're quoting it directly. Same thing with a parent. Now, again, if a parent is not a good guy, if a parent is hurtful, if a parent is... We're not talking about that parent. We're not talking about that parent. That parent, that we step everything outside of the box, and now we have to refigure things, right? We have to refigure, right? We touched on that briefly. What about the parent who's Mehalel Shabbat? What about the parent who's an abusive parent? What about the parent who's a Rasha? We didn't go a lot into that because thankfully there's not a lot of that. But we're not talking about that parent, right? We're talking about the standard parent who does a lot of good stuff and makes plenty of mistakes at the same time, right? When he asks his son to help him with something on the computer. It doesn't matter if he's on the phone with the CEO of Walmart. How could he not hang up the phone and run over to the computer? A parent should be in anguish, excuse the exaggeration, but it's not so big, because he can't get something done on the computer and the son will get to it when he gets to it. What's going on here? What is going on here? And it's wrong, and it's our fault. It's because we didn't teach the child that we say jump, they say how high. How high, Daddy? How high? So, when we say that, someone who's mochel on his kavod is machul, right? It's two sides to that thing. When we say that someone who lets it go, who relaxes the honor that's allocated to him and halachically commanded to him, it goes away. In other words, there's two sides to that point. If someone says, like we said the other day, if someone goes to his son's house on Erev Shabbat, and he says, you know what, son, it's okay for you to sit at the head of the table. That's fine. The son has to ask, and the father has to say, okay, right? As we talked about. It's okay, son, for you to sit at the head of the table and not put me at the head of the table. As I picture it in my mind, because that's what I do when I go to my children's homes, picturing it in my mind now specifically, I realize how right it is and how wrong it is. It's wrong. It's wrong. Who's anybody to sit at the head of the table if I'm in the room? What are you talking about? So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not sure. Now that we've learned it together, I'm not sure. But I want to tell you the other side of kvodo machul. The other side is that when somebody gives up on his honor is given up on. In other words, that's the other way to understand the same exact words. When I let the honor that's afforded to me go, it goes. It's gone. And what did you do? By doing that, you brought up a different kid. And that's not a great idea. So,
how far do you take it?
I'm going to take it as far as the halakhat commands me.
If you tell your kid to do something, or you give him your opinion on something he's going to do, and he just goes his route, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to crack the whip? You're supposed to lay down the law?
You tell me.
It could be something, just a difference of opinion. But your opinion is one thing. Kid wants to do a deal, business. Is that separated from what regularly?
So we talked about that, right? If he wants to, we talked about buying that field in Oklahoma, so to speak, right? We talked about that thing. So in that case,
I don't think we ever resolved.
Huh?
I don't think we ever resolved.
It's his money,
No,
right?
When it's our money.
Oh, very good. Okay, so let's just recap. If it's his money, I have every right to weigh in on it, but it's his money. Okay? It's his money. So what did our rabbis recommend? They said, do it quietly so he doesn't know you're doing it. Okay? In other words, it's not his money. Right? It's not daddy's money, it's my money. Right? So in that sense, from the kavod point of view, right? From the kavod point of view, I don't have to listen to him because it's my money. So from the respect point of view, the weightiness point of view, it's my money. It's not his money, right? Very good. But from the awe point of view, from the morah point of view, how do I go against the words of my father?
No question.
So you either don't buy the field in Oklahoma, so to speak, or you buy it quietly. Some people would, some people would say, from the morah point of view, from the awe point of view, you don't buy it. And that's what I would say. Because there's no inherent mitzvah in buying it. If you remember, one of the cases we did was that the son was going around collecting charity at night, right? And his mother was concerned about it and asked him not to do it. And what was the psak on that, as we saw?
You can lie.
Huh?
You can lie. You can lie to her.
Right, lie because it's for the sake of a mitzvah. If there's no real danger, number one, there is no real danger. You objectively vetted it out. There's no real danger. Check, that's one. Two is it's for the sake of a mitzvah. Therefore, either still don't do it, or because it's for the sake of a mitzvah, do it, but don't tell her. Okay, now in this case, buying the field in Oklahoma, buying the business deal, there's no mitzvah here. There's no mitzvah. So when the father tells you, son, you know what? I really would prefer if you don't do it. I never did business with these people. I'm going to just elaborate the potential case. I never did business with these people, but I've done business with people like them, and I prefer you don't do it. And you know what? As I'm giving you the example, I'm remembering a very specific situation with one of my sons where I didn't open my mouth. Where he was doing business with people who were not dishonest, but went right up to the edge. Right up to the edge. They never did a dishonest thing. They didn't, but they straddled it. They straddled it very cleverly. And he shouldn't have been with them. And I failed in not telling him something. So
that's a specific instance, but if you one is inherently aggressive and one is inherently conservative.
Father's conservative, the son is aggressive. Very good. So, very good. Okay, so from a practical black and white point of view, he doesn't have to listen to the father. From a kibbud point of view, doesn't have to listen to the father. Right? Does not. Okay? From an awe point of view, he should do it quietly. He shouldn't, he should have the sense that he's still my father, and this would disturb him if I do it. So you know what? I'm going to do it quietly.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means either, and it's a gray space. Excellent. It's a gray space, and that's where we're going to end up on it. Because the alternative is, Joe, that from a perspective of kavod, I don't have to listen. So I don't have to listen. But that's why we ventured into the area of morah, of awe, to say that there is a gray space. And let's struggle with the gray space. That's okay. All right? So, yeah.
So I understand the practicality of...
Thank you. Good to see you.
I understand the practicality of...
Thank you.
Kavod in terms of instilling it in our children. I know how to do that.
In terms of?
Instilling that in our children and enacting that I understand. But in terms of morah, is it a byproduct of expressing our kavod, or is that a completely separate thing?
Excellent. I would call it a completely separate thing. You know, let me ask you something. Have any of you been in a place where your wife has traveled and you haven't? You've been home. She had to travel for some reason, or chose to travel for some reason. You're home, right? Have you been in that thing? Okay, very good. So, do we have absolute, full, and unequivocal confidence that our children will be there for every need if our wife is not there? What do I mean? I think the sentence was very clear.
For you, your wife?
My wife is traveling. Yeah? I'm around with my kids. Yeah?
You're talking about daily requirements?
I'm talking about, I'm going to say it again. Do I have absolute confidence that my children would be there, anticipating and fulfilling my every need? Yes or no? Okay, I agree. And that's why we failed.
So many other factors to weigh in that strongly.
Like
How
what?
old are they?
I don't. How old are they? What's the difference?
Open-ended.
Why? Why?
And anything that...
I'm talking about a morah point of view, from an awe point of view. Why is it open-ended? Jeffrey, if your rabbi was home alone, and you knew he was home alone, right? Would you have top of mind to anticipate his needs and take care of them? I think you probably would, no? No? You wouldn't? If your rabbi was home alone, all right? He may or may not be able to care for his needs. Would you attempt to anticipate his needs and fill them? If you needed something, yes or no? Maybe you wouldn't.
I mean, if the idea occurs to me, I don't know
Okay.
if it will occur to me.
Okay, very good. So that's exactly the point.
You say top of mind.
Top of mind is exactly the point.
Rabbi, if this generation in our community is not doing this as good as well as it should, and if for sure Americans are not doing this, so where are we supposed to really learn this from?
I agree with you. I think that's the rub. Chacham Badja writes in the beginning of the book, in the introduction, the first mitzvah that he writes on kibbud avim, you got to hear this. You weren't here for this part. He says that a month before the break of each of the breaks in the yeshiva kollel schedule, right? We told you this thing, right? That there should be a separate seder on kibbud avim. This is the kid learning it full time. A month before, you want to block out an hour, 2 hours a day on kibbud avim. Yeah. First page. Wow. So you know what? The fact that it's not being taught in the schools is wrong. We have a college that we launched over the last couple of days. We're going to be teaching it hardcore over there. You know why? Because we want to build leaders. And to be a leader, this is a core element. If you jump when your father looks at you, you're going to be better in everything you do. You're going to be more aware and you're going to be more sensitive. You're going to be a better person. Just that simple. If God came and he needed something, would he have to ask for it? If God came and he needed something and you knew he needed it, would he have to ask for it? No. So why is your father any different?
You know it can be done because that's the way it used to be.
That's the way it used to be. Yeah, it is the way it used to be. That's right. Is that right or wrong, Joe? Honestly, is that right or wrong? Did you shake when your father walked in the room?
No words were necessary.
No words were necessary. My father raised his voice. I usually, my father, Morris, raised his voice once in my life. No, once. I'm not exaggerating, I say once. My brother Jeff and I were bickering around the table. My father would speak to us. He raised his voice just above a whisper. We couldn't stop crying. We were so shaken up by it. Today, raise your voice, ask for something 10 times, I'll get to it. My students at times are better than my children. How's that? I think a lot of rabbis would say that.
They make points.
Huh?
They want to make points.
I don't know if they want to make points or they're more top of mind with respect for a rabbi than they are with a parent. I think it's true.
Yeah, I think that's
It's true. Right? It is true, right?
But that's
They
because
choose their rabbi, they don't choose their parents.
Okay. But their parents brought them here, right? What was
breeds contempt.
familiarity? Okay, so exactly, excellent. So we can't allow it.
Right.
We can't allow it. Now we're in a little bit of a difficult situation because if we end up opening the book now on Friday night and teaching this, our kids are going to say, "Oh, look what he's trying to do! He's trying to control me. My father's trying to control me now." You see, he opened up this book, Shulchan Aruch, and he's teaching it. Oh, you know what he's trying to do? He's trying to control me. You know why they'd have that distorted perspective? Because we gave it to them. So all is not lost, right? We have the finest kids on the planet. We do. We know we do. But we have to begin to say, now we're going to a new year. We want to be building to a new level. We got to give this some real thought and start putting facts on the ground so that over time, we have a different kid. Thank you, Mark. Yeah?
could you have a situation where you have yirah, you drill it into your kids, but then they don't have kavod for you?
I don't know. I can't imagine that would be. I don't know how that could be. I don't know how it could be, because kavod is banal, it's basic, it's mechanical, it's the creature comforts that we talked about. Kavod is mostly about that. Let me read what he says here. Claudine Morash, Shabeno Abat, Lo Yisru Tivrei Harim. The son or daughter can't argue with the father. Can't be soter. You can't contradict the words of the father or mother. ולא יכרתו את דבריהם, לומר נראים לא יכריעו את דבריהם. And they can't affirm these words by saying, you know what, Dad, you're right. You can't tell your father, you're right. Daddy's right.
What if he wants to hear that?
Okay, one second. Let's say in a stam case. Very good. You can't tell your father, you can't say Daddy's right. Why not, Isaac? Why not?
Because you're implying he's sometimes wrong.
Who are you? Perfect. Who are you?
You're a human being with an opinion.
That's right. So in front of your father, you don't have the right to say that you affirm his idea.
So back up one. If you know for sure that he's wrong, for sure.
Okay,
not
one thing.
99, and you're 100% sure you're right. You're saying you just keep your mouth shut.
No, that's not what we're
It could
saying.
be important to him.
And that's not what we're saying.
If he gets it wrong, it could make a
When,
difference.
let's say your father's totally wrong on something, right? Let's say he quoted a halakha wrong, right? What would you do? You'd say something like, you know what, Daddy, I read this thing over here. I don't know, maybe I didn't understand it. Can you take a look at it and let me know your thoughts? It's kilachayad. It's backdoor. And it wouldn't be done in front of people. You wouldn't contradict him in front of other people. You'd wait till after the fact. You'd come over with a book and say, you know what, I probably didn't understand what's written here, but here's the way I read it. What are your thoughts?
And what if he's giving this misinformation to
Right,
people?
right.
So there's the cousins, the
Right.
sisters, the brothers.
Timely, meaning.
Right, right,
Just
right.
let it go.
He's telling everybody to go out and eat cheeseburgers.
Whatever.
Right. Okay. So
Clear misinformation.
it's clear misinformation.
You're obligated to keep your mouth shut.
Okay, so let's see what it says here. Let's see. It says that לא יכריעו את דבריהם, לומר נראים דברי אבא. I can't say Daddy's right. שיש בזה זלזול לאביו מפני שמראה בכך שדעתו מכרעת יותר מדעת אביו. I can't say Daddy's right because by saying Daddy's right, I'm affirming my father's opinion. Who am I to say that my opinion validates his opinion? Right? Who am I to say that my opinion is good enough to validate his? Okay, good. But let's now. ושלא בפני אביו, מותר לומר לכל החולקים, דרעים לי יותר דברי אבא מדבריכם. Very nice. He says, but not in front of Dad, right? You can tell the people who are arguing with your father's opinion that you agree with your father more than them. So saying it not in front of my father wouldn't be a bizayon. Telling Daddy in person, I agree with you, Dad, or you're right, that's the right thing, is disrespectful, because who are you to say that what he said is right?
You can't defend it. You can't defend it in front of your father with other people.
Very good. But with the chokim, so now let's say it's in front of your father and in front of other people. Can you say it? Doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like, why? Because
It has to look like he's standing alone.
Oh, very good. No.
what do you
So
mean?
very good, Jeffrey. Excellent.
Supporting
Excellent. So it can't look like he's standing alone. So what do you want to do? So what do you want to do? Very good. There's eight people in the room. Your father's taking a position. You can't openly disagree with him. And
Or agree.
or agree.
What if
Something's not right about it.
Why?
Something's not right about
One second. I know Jeffrey's he's asking a very a sensitive point. He's saying, how can I show that of course I'm going to listen to what my father says without saying you're right, Daddy? That's your question, right? You're not allowed to say you're wrong, right? Not allowed to say you're wrong. Even if he is, you can't soter devarav. Now, if he's telling you something against halakha, we're not talking about that. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But he's not telling you something against halakha, right? Okay. So now, you can't say you're right. Can't say you're right? But you want to support him, right?
But I like when my son tells me I'm right. I mean, I like it. So what? I mean, he says you're right. Then I know it's understood and agree, and it's all good. Everything's good. I don't know. Why I wouldn't like that. My son tells me I'm
Why do
right.
How does that make sense to you?
Not that I understand that we're both
On the same page.
on the same page. We're agreeing along the same lines.
Okay, so let's see.
It wouldn't bother me in any way.
Okay, maybe it should. Let's say there are people who are disagreeing with the father, and the son has an answer on that. He's saying here, Yashiv lahem afilu b'fnei aviv ben b'minei da'alma ben b'minei de'oraita shezeh kibud aviv. He says like this. He says, if people are disagreeing with the father, maybe this answers your point. If people are disagreeing with the father, then in front of the father, he can bring the points to validate his father's point. Very nice. So if people are pushing back on the father, and the father needs the support, right? The father needs the support, then the son can say, you know what my father just said, it's actually quoted here in the Gemara, it's actually quoted in Shulchan Aruch, in the Chumash, whatever it might be. So in that respect, if it's to defend the father, I want to read it again, just make sure we're all clear. 2 points. ושלא בפני אביו מותר לומר לכל החוקים נראים לי יותר דברי אבא מדבריכם. And if not in front of the father, the son could certainly go to the people who are arguing with his father and say, listen, here's the reason I agree with my father and I disagree with you guys, right? So he can validate the words of his father, not in front of him, no problem. Because Maran holds that if I affirm my father's opinion when he's not in the room, it's not from the perspective that I'm affirming his opinion, and who am I to affirm his opinion? It's from the overall perspective of respecting my father. So, in front of the people in the room is one thing. When my father leaves, I can absolutely stand up and say, my father's right for these reasons. But let's say the father's getting pounded, right? And the son wants to stand up because he wants to affirm what's being said. ואם יש לבן תשובת טענות החוקים על דברי אביו, ישיב להם אפילו בפני אביו, בין במילי דעלמא, בין במילי דאורייתא, שזהו כבוד אביו. It's very nice. He says, but if the father is being disagreed with, right? And the son has the opportunity to validate, and it's important that the son validates, he can either quote divrei d'alma, basic common sense logic, or he can even cite a Torah source in front of his father. Why is that hidush? You would say, what right does he have to quote a Torah source in front of his father? But he says that if the father's being pushed back on, and the father needs the support, now the son could step up and support him. But if the father's making a point, and it's pav, the reception is pav, the son can't stand up and say that my father's right. Here's the Torah source for it, because that's disrespectful.
Now, hold on. Who is pushing back? That's really the question. Like, the grandfather's pushing back, a rabbi's pushing back, your siblings are pushing back.
Okay, so you take me through and you tell me what you think. So let's start with the siblings pushing back. What would you do?
Shamble them.
Very good. So, right? If the siblings are pushing back, again, if it's a basic case where people are disagreeing with your father, you're not allowed to affirm what he said, because who are you to affirm, right? Right? Who are you? But if it's going to diminish his respect, האם יש לבן תשובת טענות החוקים? יש לו להשיב אפילו בפני אביו. So what would be the case here, right? If people weren't buying it, just weren't buying it, the son now has to assess the case, right? The situation, not the case. If the people are just not so, they're just not so on board with it.
These are opinions, not facts.
Opinions, not facts, absolutely. Opinions, not facts. If the people are not so on board with it, the son's going to look at the situation. He's going to say, you know what? I'm going to weigh the options here. Me weighing in on this point has a slight tinge of disrespecting my father, and them not listening to him is this. Where's the greater good? Okay, very good. If the greater good is that these people listen, then the son has the ability to weigh in and say, you know what? Not say anything, but I happened to see something in the Gemara that validated that thing.
The ability or the responsibility to step up? If you want to talk about respect and more, you come to your father's defense. But again, it needs to be.
It says
it's a tough call.
It's a tough call, and it's framed as a tough call. If it's going to be to bring respect to my father, then you step up. If it's going to be disrespectful, the fact that you're validating it, your validation, if your validation is needed, importantly needed, then validating is effectively respecting your father. If your impression is not going to seal this thing, then who are you to weigh in on it?
What if it's
And I think that's a very important, that's a subtle nuance, one second, but it's very important. Because that distinguishes between what is my goal here, me, or my goal here, my father. If my goal here is me, and I want to let the people know that me, that I'm the one who's affirming what my father says, that's a problem. Who are you to affirm what your father says? On the other hand, if the goal is to solidify my father's opinion for his respect, then I should do it.
What about for keeping the peace? And we always say the peace is the most important thing. So now if the parent is having this animated discussion with family members, and you want to step in because you see it's going in a bad way, which a lot of conversations get heated.
So,
can you step in?
What would you say? Based on, you learned a lot about this so far.
Yes, for shalom, yes.
Okay, good. So you're answering the
Now
question.
you're going to go against your father, potentially. You may agree with the other.
Oh, to disagree with your father in public for thing?
For peace in the family.
But how's that going to bring peace?
I don't know how somebody could do that. What you might want to say is, Daddy, something just came into my head. Can I ask you something outside? You might want to do something like that. But to disagree, if your father is having a dispute with other family members...
Sort of highlighting it also. They're calling him out a little bit also. By doing it that way.
Yeah, so let's say it's like to your example, it's a difficult situation, it's a heated conversation, and the son thinks that the father just doesn't get what's being said to him. Can he say something in public? I would say no. I don't know how. I don't know.
Just let the thing right out, let it continue to bubble up.
Maybe he says something like, Daddy, are you actually saying this and that? Can I interpret what you're saying to mean this and that?
Or he could repackage what the other people are saying.
Yeah, maybe the hook is to go that way, right? What do you say? Maybe the hook is to say, Daddy, I'm understanding you to say this and that. Are you saying that?
He's a heated daddy who's going to double down because now he's being challenged.
Well, but maybe I'm suggesting a way to go around it. You have a dispute. You framed it as a dispute, right, between family members, right? Whatever it is. The father took a certain opinion. The other family members are taking a different opinion, and now the son is sitting there saying, "This is not good, right? This is not good." And I think I can, straddle this thing between the two opinions, right? So now, can he go out and say, you know what Daddy's actually saying is? He can't do that, right?
Can't do that.
But he has peace. He has his altar goal of peace, right? So what do you say? What should he do?
You say Dad has valid points, and so does everyone else. And
Ooh, Dad has a valid point? How can you say that?
Look, there's. I understand you guys think that it's invalid. Dad feels like his points are valid, and let's figure this out. Let's take a little breather, and let's revisit this.
Okay. The only thing I
would Dad privately, and figure it out.
Beautiful. The only thing I would drop from what you're saying is what?
You have some valid points.
You can't say that as a
Okay, you
valid
said
point.
Dad feels like his points are
No. You can't even say that. Right. You can't even say that. What you can say is, you know what? Everybody loves each other here. Even this would be a little disrespectful to your father. Even this would be a little disrespectful. Something to warm the room up in a positive sense. I don't know if you could say, let's dismiss it for now and come back to it.
Can we not talk about
who are
this
you
now?
to do
You can't
that?
say that?
I don't know if you could do that.
You can't say, can we not talk about this now?
I don't think you could do that. Can you?
What are you supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do?
Let's not say what we're not supposed to.
Why? So what would you do in that case, right? You brought us a tough case, right? You're not gonna. You can't validate what. You can't disagree with what your father says openly. You can't validate what he's saying openly.
What would
But
Kohen do?
he says the im yesh ben. Maybe it's not as unclear as we're saying. Im yesh ben teshuva tanot hachokim al divrei aviv. But we're not saying it that way. We're saying if the person has a black and white answer to substantiate what Daddy's saying, he can say it because people are challenging his father. But in this case, our case, right, you're saying that the son or the daughter, whatever, is trying to bring peace. In other words, not going to completely agree with what Daddy is saying. Is going to try to find the middle ground. How do you find the middle ground? Because the middle ground is effectively not agreeing with your father. So how do you find that middle ground?
You have to wait.
Huh?
You have to wait. You have to wait till the conversation is over. I think that's the only way. And then approach both parties.
And then we go back to the original question, what if he's clearly wrong?
If he's clearly wrong in the context of halacha, then
Talking about opinions now, talking about disagreement.
Well, then why would it be just clearly wrong then? It has to be
Listen,
based on something that it's clearly wrong. It has to be halakha by definition.
yeah. If it's not halachic, you're saying halachically clearly wrong,
That's not true.
and he's saying it in front of people. You got to find a way to tell him, Daddy, you know what? I think I saw it this way.
No, Daddy says today's Tuesday and it's sunny out. Actually, it's Wednesday and it's raining. You're not allowed to...
But that's facts. That's just
That's what I'm
facts.
saying.
Why? What right would you have to challenge
But he's
that?
adamant.
What right would you have?
He's wrong.
What? So what?
He's clearly wrong. and
So
he's-
what?
It's gonna pour. You're having a big event. It's gonna pour.
And therefore, he tells you bring everything inside.
And he said, "Don't bring everything inside. It's not gonna rain."
All right, very good. So you'd go over to him respectfully and Daddy say, you know what, I don't know, these crazy weather station apps, I don't know if they mean anything, but it's just showing this thing. What do you think? And then if it's going to cost you money to bring everything in, then you have a ta'ana not to listen. Right? You have a ta'ana not to listen because he can't obligate you to spend money on something that there's really no basis for it. On the other hand, if he publicly proclaimed everything has to go inside.
Now, if the father
Rough.
asks his son, do you agree? He has to say no comment.
I say, Daddy, he has to say something like, Daddy, I would never, he has to say something like, I would never agree or disagree with you.
He asked for the opinion.
If he asks your opinion, do you agree?
I neither disagree or I neither agree or disagree. What if,
Son, do you agree? I mean, unfortunately, the father should never be asking that. But now that he asked it, right?
business.
What do
He
you
asked
say?
you Business. We work
Okay,
together. Business.
very good. So now
You
that the
agree
father
that
made the
this is-
mistake of asking the question, I guess the son has to answer, I agree. But if the father doesn't ask that, the son can't say, I agree.
No, but it could
Or
be
disagree.
Or disagree.
if he my parents.
Again, if
were,
it's affecting my well-being, my health, my family, my money, it's a different
What
story.
about his health, his money, his,
The father's house, the father's house.
his money, his well-being.
You
his-
tell him, you know what, Daddy, I'll do whatever you want, but I just want you to know that I spoke to these 3 doctors and they suggested something else. Of course, it's your decision, but I spoke to these 3 doctors and they suggested something else. That's all. Can I go tell my father, go sell your house? Can I tell my father, go sell your house? Yes or no?
No, why?
Can you
Can I tell my father?
Can you say, would you consider? Do you think you should consider it? That it may be
Can I get together with my siblings and we all make this enlightened decision that Darlene, Dad passed, Mom's alone in the house, and she doesn't need that house anymore? Can we make that decision?
So you say you can't even have the conversation?
You tell me.
I would think you could. I
Why?
think you should.
Why?
Because if the place is, I know you're going to tell me it's a comfort, and it's she's not going to be comfortable. Relocate. But if there's crazy expenses to the place,
Again, you don't have to spend your own money. But she's spending her money.
it's her money, but that money is going to dissipate.
Okay.
Over time.
Then you have the obligation to tell her, Mom, in 3 years and 11 months, we're not going to be able to support this mortgage anymore. And if you move now, we'll be able to do this. If you move then, you'll be able to do that. And then could we, in that way, not, we all got together and we decided that not. Right? Okay, very good. But can we have a different conversation? And when she says, you know what, my darling children, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to take the 3 years and 11 months. Then you can't go back and coffee clutch together and say, huh,
Let's come up with a different thing.
what's Mom doing? How does she do these things? What is she talking about? How dare you say that about your mother? By the way, have we seen that? Have we seen that? We've certainly seen that. Right? Huh. You could speak that way about your mother with a tisk in your voice, with annoyance in your voice? Annoyance? How dare you? How dare you do something like that?
I'll give you another one. The toughest conversation is when you have to take the car keys away.
100%. That's the toughest. It's a disaster. That is a disaster. Over here, we're talking about pikuach nefesh. If there's a real issue of pikuach nefesh, then it's something else. But if you feel that she's 94 and should stop driving, but she passed her road test, she passed the thing, but if you've been in the car with her and it really is dangerous, then we have to find a way without embarrassing her, without making her feel less. And it's a very, very hard thing. Yeah? But the point is for it to be a very hard thing. It should be a very hard thing. That's the whole point. We should agonize over it.
With a heavy heart.
With a heavy heart. We should agonize over it with a heavy heart until we get there. So, we'll pick up on this, God willing, but for our perspective today, we're going to hold that the obligation to instill morah on our children vis-a-vis us is in line with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mandate and demand that we be in awe of Him. It's the same terminology. And we need to think about ways to reclaim awe in our children towards us, because it's what the Torah demands and defines, and it will make for a better relationship, and no less important, it will make for a better person in our children. So, we want to have top of mind silly things like, when I ask my child to help me with something in terms of a computer or some technology or something like that, which I'm not adept at, we want to bring it to a point where he will put everything down, stop everything the second he's requested, and run over and do it. And that's what he should be doing. That's Isaac.
But then he's really asking he's giving his opinions and he's asking.
I asked him for help with something. I asked him for his help with something.
And you can say that. So that's the same thing with, okay.
Yeah, great.
It's the same thing if he comes to him and asks him, do you agree? I have an idea. What do you think of this idea? You can't tell yourself. The same thing is help.